Today we're making pellets to go with the handcart. Well, here's the idea. As you can see, this pot plant is reasonably heavy. When I was rebuilding this deck, I needed to move those, and I found that making a little pallet like this was a great idea. Originally I made them out of treated pine fence posts, and I'll show you one of those, but this one's a slightly heavier version used in the old decking boards, and you can see it's designed specifically for the lifting fork of the handcart. It just slips straight in there, and there's about 10mm clearance either side. When it slips in, let's put that in, and just a gentle tip back. Instead of having to do things out of control, we're doing things in control, and that's the main thing for saving your back, is doing things in control. So this is designed for the hand cart, the P cart they call them. This one's a 250 kilo one. These sell for about $30 or $40. We can get them for $15 from online for pallets to help move pot plants around, or anything in the yard really. A little pile of bricks, just things you know, pile them up, move them with the cart, makes it much easier. Alright, well here's our pallet. Now these ones out of the treated pine, I've turned off this idea. I thought this was going to be nice and simple, very easy to make. You just nail them together. Very lightweight, but they do sort of twist up. The treated pine's not the most perfect stuff, and when it dries out it twists up, unless it's part of a fence. But this particular tub's got its bottom broken out, so I just want to slide that up onto the pallet before we put things in there that are too heavy. Just doing that one-handed, so it slides on there nicely. Oops. So that's now ready to be used with the loader cart. A lot easier for moving rubbish around. And here's a treated pine pallet. You just load this up really easily. I'll just put my foot on one end, stop it sliding, lift that up, slide that on. Not a big problem at all. So that's just sitting nicely on there, and now I can load that up much better and move it around as I need. Okay, well I've cut up enough parts here to make 4 pallets. This is my little work area that I've created. It doesn't need to be very large. And there's my bits and pieces that I'm going to be using. This is my setup just over here for cutting apart. I made this stick here to give me a stop block at 2 dimensions. This is the 330 length. This one over here is the 440 length, and I just flip that over. So that's the setup for cutting repeatable length cuts. That cord is not in the way. So I've just chop sawed those up, and this is just old timber that I've had lying around after the deck rebuild. Well, there you go. Took me about 20 minutes to screw those 4 together. And there's a little crate box there that I use for the tools that I was using for the job. Just put them all together in the tool workshop and then bring them out. Pack them all away. There's 4 crates sitting on top of each other. They work beautifully. I really enjoy making these. Here we are back at the mini workbench, and I've got the detail here of the yard pallet that I've just built. And this was the sketch that I drew last night, just to help anyone if they're interested. The rails here are split out of, ripped down the centre of a treated pine 35 by 90, so they're a little bit under 45, but I'm listing them here as 45. The pallet obviously is designed to go with the standard P-type yard cart, hand truck, hand trolley. Here's our 45 by 35 rails. Just a couple of decking screws on each. I've used 2 screws on each because, well, because I had them. It might work quite well with 1 screw. With 1 screw you might get a bit of racking over time, so 2 screws is probably better. And the decking boards that I used were Merbu, scrap off the deck, the ones that weren't rotten. These were 75 wide. I don't think you can get 75 wide decking board anymore in Australia, at least in the Merbu. But I think if you had 3 boards of 90 wide, you might get a reasonably large gap, but again, a reasonably, and less screws, quicker to make. So if you've got offcuts from building your own deck, or if you just want to use that, that's fine. 3 planks here would be fine. I just happen to use 4 because of this. Now the dimension of the 330 width, I did that so that the front edge of the pallet, the lifting tray, not sure really what to call that, forks on the forklift, but they're not forks, it's a tray. That tray comes out inside, of course, so I'm using this because it's similar perspective. But this tray comes out and it sits just within that third board. So I wanted it beyond this halfway point here. If it was less than halfway, obviously the thing would tip forward as you try and lift it. And just having it beyond, so halfway along that board. So these standard dimension carts, and I'll get the dimensions shortly, but these standard dimension carts look like they're pretty much standard in that slight, you know, that weight, the 250 to 300 kilogram class. Sounds like some sort of sport. I've got two of these, one with the hard tyres, the non-pneumatic, and the other with the pneumatic. Pneumatic's nicer, and you know, to drive around, to carry around, but they do go flat. They're terrible quality tyres and tubes. So if I was going to buy a new one, I would encourage to do the non-pneumatic, or the, I think they call them the foam core or something, tyre. But that's just an aside. Yeah, so these are quite good. I'm really happy with the yard pallet, I think I'll call it. Wonder if I can trademark that. TM. Out of some old scraps. Anyway, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment what you think of these yard pallets, and you know, show me if you've actually made any yourself.